That was fun. Hey, Freddie, what up, baby? All right. Cool. Yeah, we're in a weird spot, guys. You know, a couple things to just be mindful of today. We're in a little bit of a weird spot here on the Qs. We're resting on the 20, and we've been bouncing off this level here for like really the last couple weeks, and even a little bit before that. But if we lose this, then we're going to get really some downside, probably 4 or 5 extra points on the Qs. And you can see yesterday we kind of dumped off some strength here. So there's a couple things that like moving averages do. You can't really base your trades off of them, but they give you a little bit of a guidepost of, number one, it can be an area of support and resistance, but beyond that, right, they help you identify trends on specific time frames. So, right, your 90 EMA is your shortest term time frame, your 20 SMA is your second shortest, a little bit more intermediate, and then your 50 and 200 are kind of your long term. So the slope of the moving averages will help you determine what is happening for the trend of that particular time frame. So you can start to see there's been like a little bit of a gradual weakening of trends, and you guys can feel that, right? Even in the Mr. Tomlin, how you doing? You can feel that even in the price action. So we're getting a slow kind of gradual turning of the trend from something that was gangbusters to really a little bit more neutral to the short-term trend is kind of wavering to the downside here. So there's a couple ways that really we need to play this. We have the 20 SMA here, and we have yesterday's lows, which would probably pretty much coincide with it. So that's going to be the area that we have to trade around today. If we lose this at the open, for example, then we're probably going to get a little bit of sell pressure that comes into the market. So we'll have to be a little bit careful on the longs. You saw on the individual, the price action of stocks yesterday, like a lot of stocks in the morning looked really good for a hot second, and then they faded off, right? So you saw like SQ popped up at the open, faded off. AMD popped up at the open, faded off, right? You had Peloton pop up at the open and fade off. So you had that kind of, if you look at Baidu, PDD, right? You had to pop up at the open, and then the gap faded off. So you saw this like kind of broad base, see like pop up at the open and fade off. So you saw like a broad base kind of selling that was happening in the market. And that kind of coincides with what we've been seeing here, on the Qs, which is a slow turning, of the short-term trend. So that's going to be something that we'll have to be really, really mindful of as we trade today. We are going to have to potentially mix some longs and shorts, just like we did yesterday. There are some markets that are just long only, and there are some markets that are small cap only, and there's some markets that are, XYZ only, right? There's themes in the market. Right now, the themes are that because we have a slowing down of the individual trend on a short-term time frame, we will have to be a little bit more prudent and be long, short, a little bit more than we probably would prefer to. It's much more easy when you have a directional market, but it's much more profitable when you have an up and down market, because as day traders, our job is really to stack chips, 2, 3, 4, 5%, right, over and over. And having some shakeouts and shake and bakes and stuff like that will really, really help. Let's take a look at the earnings plays. We're still in the middle of earnings season, and then from there, we'll go into just a regular old watch list. I think there's still a lot of good-looking stocks that are running around that are going to give us a shot today. Clover Investments, revenue gain, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm not sure on this one. This one, because it's like an AMC kind of stock, is popping up 21% on earnings. You got your 200 SMA on top. It's got maybe $1 room or give or take. It's got a big base on it. This is something I think we'll have to play, but frankly, I wouldn't be surprised to see this one roll over like AMC did. I think we add it to the list, but we'll have to be open about it. The key on Clove is going to be the first pull. right? When that first pullback happens, does it hold? Does it build? Does it try to build up some steam, some stamina? If it starts to hold there, then, we could take a little goose in a gander. But I mean, this company is a big gelatinous, right? Smelly turd. It's the turd of turds. It's also a Chamath stock, a Chamath SPAC stock. And, I'm ashamed to call him an Indian because he looked like the great Indian hope. But like all his plays have gone really into the fucking shitter. It's just brown on brown crime, and that ain't right. That is not right. But this is, I think we added, but I'm not that keen on it. Open door. Net loss narrows, revenue jumps. Like, these guys are in the real estate fucking business. Like, how are you losing money in real estate? You have a fucking website. You sell homes. Like, where is the cost? It boggles my mind that some of this kind of things can happen. This one has got a little bit of a base here. This is also a Chamath play, though. So it's going to be, there's going to be sellers in it like every single step of the way. But you do have a big base. And you know what I'm talking about, Alok. It ain't right. This is a Chamath play, too. This will be one of those ones, like if it can start to build, right, and kind of attack that 18, then I think we'll be okay on it. Not that keen on it. I see the setup here if it gets kind of into that 17, 18 zone. But otherwise, we leave that bad boy alone. So this is the website that does the boner pills, which is pretty fucking cool. Hey, I got a website. I sell boner pills and also hair transplant medications, little Rogaine. I mean, that's like the double whammy. Like, hey, doc, I'd like some boner pills and some hair pills. For that, I'm all up in it. Just for that, I'm all up in it. It's a $1 billion company already. You do got a little bit of a rounding base. I don't know if this one is going to have any liquidity. It's got 100,000 shares in volume. This is one of those ones that's like a bottoming play. It's a former IPO. So like a lot of these IPOs that get hot, when they dump off and then they have an earnings breakout or an earnings beat, they can actually squeeze pretty well. Like Lovesac was one of them that, comes to my mind, right? Like that thing is sitting like $4 or $5. It had an earnings beat. Next thing you know, like it was at like $70, $80. I add this to the list with the caveat, like you're probably gonna have to fire off like 500,000 shares to 1 million shares of volume at the open. Otherwise, leave it alone. Kano, isn't that the guy from Street Fighter? That's a great name. Kano. HPI. Man, this thing's a turd. Look, HPI, I know you guys love to play this thing. Until that 1550-ish will be your spot. You got kind of two zones. Somewhere in here is when it's going to pick up some steam. It got the shit shorted out of it yesterday. Like you see these tails on it. I'd be interested possibly in the 1550 zone. It's picking up some steam there. You do have like a little bit of a location. It's that's not my particular type of flavor, but I see it. I mean, we can add it. Not a huge heater, but you know how it goes. Hey, Sona, this is a nice earnings breakout, right? Like they do the stereo systems and all that kind of stuff. This goes in with the theme of kind of like, right, work from home, stay at home. Like, you got to kind of spruce up your house. Even me, I live in a pig pen all these years. And even I sometimes I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time to spruce up the house since we're here so much. Everybody's been thinking about getting bigger homes, adding things to their homes, because everybody's stuck at home a lot more. This is a nice earnings break, swings of profit after sales surge, fiscal 3, guidance lifted. So if you can beat on earnings and you lift guidance, the guidance is always the key. If you ever see stocks like that have like earnings and they beat on earnings, but then they dump after the earnings, oftentimes it's because the guidance was dick. Like, they're expecting like this like the guy, the CEO, to get on the call and be like, hey, next year's going to be even twice as good. And sometimes if they're a little bit muted, the stocks will start to dump off. This is probably hot. I would add that to the list. Palantir. Fuck this thing. Palantir just earnings, revenues rise. Look, this has actually got a little, this has got a little bit of a breakout on it. Oh, you know what, Blizzy? I got an old TV though. I feel like I need a new TV to go with that. I mean, I got a lot of fucking like 8 TVs in this place, so I would like one. This is man. I don't like supporting a Kathy Johnson stock just out of moral obligations, mostly because of Blizzy. He was put her on such a pedestal, and then when her downfall came, it's like I held it against her personally because of Blizzy's pedestal. And so I don't like supporting her plays, but this is a good looking breakout here. I'd add it. I mean, that could have, look, it's a billion share float. Probably can't chase it up at the open. If it pulls and starts to hold, man, like we could have some fun with that. Like add that to the list. That's actually pretty good. I hate to say it, but it is. I don't like supporting Kathy Johnson stocks. I think the BNTX mRNA, like see how like you're gapping up into the middle of the range. Man, we had an epic short on these yesterday. Fuck, give me those back, right? Man, that really, guys. By the way, like when you get the meat on something like this, you have to make sure you hammer it with enough size. Like they should make your month. Like when you get these kind of big dumps, you know, most of the trading month, like you're grinding it out, $500 here, $1,000 here, $1,000 there. Like when you get like this kind of action, like you have to make sure you put such a hammer on it that because it's a juicy setup that it pays you for the rest of the month. So that, you can only grind your way 500, 500, 500 for so long. Like at some point when you get the juicy ones, like you do got to rack up, 10 stacks, 20 stacks, whatever it is that, you can do. But you got to do it because you only get these like every so often, and you really got to milk the balls on those things. Like if they happen, I think the easy short is over on these. So I don't think it's a bounce either. It's not, the stock is broken now for the most part. There's too much selling. And when you get such big red bars, like the stock's going to be broken for a long time. This is a good chance that this just goes in like an epic consolidation where, it bounces and it pulls back and right. You just get like a big sloppy range on it. I think we probably leave this one alone today. I just don't see the edge in the trade and trying to short it now after it's already dropped like 120 points. But because it gapped up, I don't know if, we have an easy long. Like if this stock gapped down today, I think we would have probably got a little bit of I think we would have been able to flip it long for like a hot 10-minute trade that rips like 20, 30 points. But like, I don't think we're going to get that because when you're gapping up into the middle of the range, it's going to be a lot more tricky. So I'd probably leave those alone. Out of them, like frankly, the NVAX is the one that still held up the best, even though it dumped on earnings a couple days ago. Keep it alert if it starts to like really bust into these 250s. That's going to be pretty hot. But like for now, like leave it alone. Man, BLDR. Fuck, that's a hot one. Dun, 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 dun. OGN, Oregon and Company. Man, that's nice, ain't it? So see, like this IPO stock, it's got a big base. Anybody ever trade this thing? I wonder if it's got any fucking liquidity. 3 million, 2 million. Oh, man, we're right in that sweet spot of the low end of liquidity. Like that's like a really, man, that type of pattern is like really juicy. The issue is going to be, does it have like any liquidity on it? 3 million shares is just the bottom of the low end of like what we can do. That's gonna be rough. I'd go with not an immediate priority. Yeah. I'm gonna put it on the list. I'll watch it for us. I wouldn't put it on your 6 windows, guys, just because, you know, we don't know if there's gonna be any liquidity. Now, look, there's the Chinese names. So these are all getting set up for a flushy today, I think. Like, see this Baidu? You got a big bear flag on these. These are like top of the list, I think. I think we might be able to hit these off right at the fucking open. Sorry for the swearing. Baidu, top of the list right there. Yeah, there's a, you know, the Chinese crackdowns are still going. You're right, Steve-O. And look, both of these, I mean, this is heavy as all get up right here. Like, these things are coming down. Like, there's no getting around it. When you get that oversold and you can barely bounce and you start to consolidate like that, that's going to be Baidu, PDD. I think Baidu's maybe even a little bit more juicy, but they're both juicy. I mean, they got the same setup, right? But I just like trading Baidu better because it's got a cooler name. It's like Baidu. It just rolls off your tongue a little bit better, where like PDD is like PDD. Not as cool, right? Like Baidu's got a musical name to it. It's very Celtic. It's very, you know, Celtic folklore, 1200 BC type of action right there. Ooh. You could just picture yourself. Yeah, so you can just picture yourself in the Scottish Highlands singing Baidu. This is nice. And this, Baba looks okay. Baba's a thick little bastard, though. Baba's a thick little bastard. 20 billion. I don't know if that number is right, but the float on it is in the many, many billions. And you can also see, like, it's just like a weird chart. Like a real man shred Baidu, the noobs are going to come in with Baba because it's like probably they fucking, you know, buy their pornos on it. But I can't do Baba. We're Baidu people. It's more musical, sounds better, charts better. Baba's for the noobs. Look at all these gaps and stuff. It just doesn't have the range. Baidu. Do you Baidu? Yeah, JD could be another one here. And then you got Billy Bong. Billy Bong actually tends to have the best range out of the group. So look, Billy Bong and Baba have the same ATR, but Baba's like $200, right? This is $80. So you get more bang for the buck. So the ATR on this is 5. The ATR on Baba is right 6. This is double the price. So essentially you have the same setup, but you got more bang for the buck on Billy. That's always important when you're trading. Like if you're going to throw some cash into it, it's better to have something that's got just a little bit more range on it. Now let's take a look on the downside. Let's see if any stocks just got busted up on earnings. Beaky, man, I used to love this thing. Beaky, do you love me? Man, Beaky don't love me. Damn. You know what? I can't even short it down there. RXT, jump. Coupang, man, I had high hopes for Coupang this year. I think this is like the Indonesian Amazon or something. Coupang, net loss widens, revenue increases 71%. Hey, so a couple things. There's going to be a spread on this one too. But if it busts under this level here, like that's going to be IPO lows. Like there's a good shot this thing just gets shredded. I would add that to the short list if we need a short. Blink is a big smelly turd. You know, this is probably most likely like a $2 stock. It's price, it's just slowly getting its way back. What a nasty little thing. So you got a big bear flag here. I would not be surprised to see this thing, you know, fucking dump off. I hate this thing. Even though we made so much money on it, for some reason, I just can't support Blink. Yo, that thing's probably a shredder. So this thing, quarterly loss, some revenue jump, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's a short. There's no getting around it. That is a short. That's not a priority. We'll see if it's got any liquidity. Now, Grow G moves well. Grow G moves well. So this thing's getting busted on earnings too. This is today, down 8.5%. This is probably a right candidate for an ORB. That's top of the list on the shorts. FSR, turn. All right, let's get into like just a regular old watch list. UPST, set an alert for 172. Fubo, day 2 play. Like, see how it held here? I think probably 32 sends this thing. Let's see if it holds. I like the Fubo. D-Dog. This is another one. If the market holds up, you got a nice consolidation on it. The big if is if the market holds up, right? Like we have AMD, D-Dog both sitting on the 9s. The question is going to be if the Qs hang out. Now, there's a couple things to be mindful of. If you ever have trouble like reading market conditions on like what's happening with the indexes, stick with the general news plays. All these news plays, they're going to move like irregardless to what's happening in the general market because they have fresh news out. So their volume, they're going to have their own order flow that goes into it based on the news, you know, and their earnings out, right? So they have that fundamental catalyst where if you just have a general stock, like say you put DocuSign or something or AMD on your watch list, that's going to shake and bake depending on what's happening with the NASDAQ index, right? So if the NASDAQ index gets its D shredded, then they get shredded. You know, if it goes up or stays flat, they tend to move. Where like these kind of stocks, you got Open Hinge, Blink, Sono, Grow G, Coupang, the Palantir. These are going to move pretty much like independent to what happens in the market. So keep an eye on those. I think that those are going to have some nice action. Hey, Dillard's does have like a big breakout over here, and the float is tiny on this. You do have a chance on this one. It's a grocery store, so it's not going to be like it can be a huge shredder, but it can be a pain. Department store, I should say. So that's going to be the list. I will leave the rest of this alone. You know, you have kind of your daily traders. I think top ideas, though, if we get a little pop at the open on these Chinas, we fucking take these down. And then we got these earnings plays. I'll put them in the chat room right now. We got these earnings plays. And then if the QQQs loses its 20 SMA, then I think we're going to have to take a little bit of short, get this party going. That's the list.